Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to be your own hero. And that's what I want. I want everybody to advocate for themselves and be your own hero because you're the one who's going to make a difference in your life. And I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient. Been battling cancer now for 17 months, and I am getting better. I'll have some more news on the next video because I've got some fresh scans coming up that will see how my lungs and my bone cancer is doing. But as of right now, things have gotten a lot better. And I am so happy here to have Bella Greer here with me, and she's from Chicago. And I'd like to introduce Bella and have her share her amazing story with us. Bella, please introduce yourself.
Hello. As he said, my name is Bella Greer. I am from Chicago, cold, windy Chicago. I am a stage 2 breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed back in 2019, actually, February of 2019. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And I went through all of the treatment and started off with the surgery. And then from surgery, I went and did chemotherapy, radiation, and now I'm at the process of hormone therapy. I'm about 2.5 years in with that. I actually started that at the beginning of COVID. So that's kind of how I remember. I started maybe the week of the whole lockdown is when I started my hormone therapy. So I'm just happy to be here. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. And Bella is one of our cancer conquering community people, and I've heard her story, and I was just so excited to bring her onto the channel. And so you've been battling cancer now for a while, and how what was it like for you when you got diagnosed? Can you please go into that?
So it was so, and I say this because I don't know any other word. It was so funny when it happened. And I shared this with a couple of people in the community already. Um, I was 38 when I was diagnosed. So that's actually before they even start considering women for mammograms. It was just, I kept having this eerie feeling. I kept feeling like just like something wasn't right, not even physically, but like emotionally. I couldn't sleep at night. Something was off. And I have, and I told you about this, Mark, I had a breast cancer shirt in my closet that every time I saw this shirt, it would just like give me this terrible feeling on the inside. I couldn't figure out what exactly it was, but every time I saw it, it was like somebody gave me a punch in the stomach, and I couldn't figure out why. It was bothering me so much, and so I finally got around to uh, just like, okay, trying to get settled about it. That never really happened, me getting settled about it. Commercials on television, they were bothering me. Just a whole lot of different things. I couldn't get settled with the whole anybody talking about breast cancer. And then one day I was just sitting and watching television, and I actually felt a lump in my right breast. And at first I was like, well, it's probably nothing, because who would think that right off the top of my head that that would be what it was. I actually did go to the doctor, but I kind of slid in my concern when I was talking to him. I just asked him, I went for a beginning of the year, because that's just something I've always done since I've been on my own. Go to the doctor at the beginning of the year and just do a full body checkup. And I did say to him, I'm like, can you just do a breast exam real quick and see if you, no, I didn't even say, can you see if you feel anything? I said, can you do a quick breast exam? And he did it. And then I asked him, I said, do you feel anything? And he said to me, he was like, well, no. And I said, what? Feel again and tell me if you feel anything. And then when I said that, he actually kind of went a little bit deeper, and he also found the lump. Um, and the crazy part about it is, again, like I said, we don't, right now, they don't do breast exams or mammograms, I should say, before the age of 40. And at the time I was 38. And so he just was like, well, let's see, the body does a whole lot of different things around menstruation. So let's just wait and see after your menstrual how it feels. If it's still there, then we'll get worried about it and I'll have you to go get tested. Well, my menstrual came and went, and it was still there. So he did send me to do a mammogram. And I remember going for the mammogram again in my mind, thinking like, oh, I'll probably be okay. And I remember they told me if it was something, I would go from a mammogram to an ultrasound. If it was nothing, it would just be a mammogram and I would go on my way. Well, after the mammogram, they told me I needed to go to another room. And that is where they did the ultrasound. Then the radiologist came in and then started asking me a whole lot of different questions, which kind of left me feeling like, okay, why are you asking me these? She did tell me that she was concerned and that she did believe that it was cancer. Uh, Again, I hate that I was by myself, but again, I don't think that I went in the mindset of thinking that they were going to find something. So I remember and I shared this with you, Mark, I was traumatized because so many times when we hear the word cancer, because usually that's just how people believe. When they hear the word cancer, they automatically believe, think cancer equals death. And so that was my very first thing, like, I'm going to die. And so I was terrified, in addition to being by myself. And I wish that I did have some people there, family to maybe, or a friend to comfort me. But I remember, and my doctor's office probably is about maybe 30 miles from maybe 25 to 30 miles from my home. So it wasn't like, oh, I was just right down the street. So it was quite a ride to take back home by myself with just getting that information. So that was my initial feeling after I was diagnosed.
You're very young to have gotten cancer. And, the amazing thing about cancer is it never gives you time to prepare. All
Never.
of a sudden, it just shows up on your doorstep. And so you got your diagnosis, then what?
Well, I remember I left, went to, I called my father as soon as I got into the car. Um, and I cried because I didn't know I was in shock. So that was the very first thing. But then I went through quite a lot of emotions. So I think first was fear. And then after that, my next feeling, probably, I don't think it was even that same day. I think my next feeling was anger, because one of the things that I guess I can say I take pride in is that I take care of a lot of people. That's always been my nature. I want to make sure everyone is okay. And to for me to feel like that actually happened to me. And I was one of the people that took pride in taking care of. I'm very into church and all of that stuff. So for that to happen and for me to be so active in church and for me to have a relationship with the Lord, I'm like, God, how did this happen to me? Not that I'm above it happening, but just I didn't think that something like that would happen. So I immediately I went into a little bit of anger. I don't think denial was ever a part of it. But I think after anger, then it was just like, okay, I have to do what I have to do. And it was challenging because initially they were like, oh, you caught it early. We can just give you surgery and you'll be gone. Everything is fine. And then shortly after they told me that I had to go through chemotherapy. And when they told me that, I told the oncologist, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. And so he kind of looked at me again, because I think his initial thing was like, okay. But initially I was like, I don't want to do that, because I knew that meant I was going to lose my hair. I felt like that meant that I was going to, again, after that, be sick all the time, and then be in the bed all the time, and then maybe get hospitalized because my immune system is shot. So I immediately turned off even the whole idea of chemotherapy. And then I remember him telling me, this was a Thursday, I believe. He said, I want you to go home and tell them that I want you to come back and see me on Monday. What I'm asking you is that you go home, process all of this, think it through, and then you come back and let's have a conversation on Monday. Because what I want you to understand, you're young and you're strong and you're healthy otherwise. I just need you to trust me. And if you trust me and just let me borrow 6 months of your life, you won't have to worry about anything. I'm just asking you to trust me. And then he made the statement that also arrested my whole, I guess, attitude and everything. Is he said, if you were my wife, I would make you do it. And I need you to understand how serious this is. He said, but again, it is totally your choice. I want you to go home and think about it, and then come back and see me on Monday, and we go from there. Which I did. I went home after, all of my emotions came back under control. I was able to really process it, and I did. Obviously, I did go through and do the chemotherapy. And then, I did the surgery first, then I did chemotherapy, as I stated earlier. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
So you go through this whole process, and I know because this is a really confusing time, and so you, as we as cancer patients, we have to make a lot of decisions about our own health. Uh, when we're dealing with all these emotions, and there's just so many, it's so complex, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so crazy, you know the things that we have to do in order to move forward. And so um, you get diagnosed, you decide to go through the chemo and have your surgery. um, what else are you doing besides that?
What else am I doing besides what? I'm sorry.
Besides the are you doing anything else beside the surgery and the chemo and anything like that, or are you just strictly going with what the doctor said?
I strictly went through what the doctor said. I mean, I did change some personal things, as far as like maybe resting more, because I was a person that was always on the go. So I kind of, if you want to say, I kind of put myself on a curfew, um, by a certain time. Even now, even though I'm not really going through anything but hormonal therapy, I try to be home by a decent time, unless I'm hanging out. I'm not going to pretend like I don't hang out, but unless I'm hanging out with friends, I try to be home at a decent time, and usually in the bed, or at least preparing for bed, like 9:30 and 10 o'clock. Because I realized that if going through chemo didn't teach me anything else, it taught me about the body needing to rejuvenate itself. And that I have noticed just a change in just how I feel, even now, just getting the proper rest. Because more than likely, I'm sure I was killing myself doing what I was doing before. Um, just not really, not negligent, but just, I guess, being a busybody, which didn't pay off, if that makes sense.
Hmm. What has cancer how has cancer changed your life? I know it's dramatically changed mine. I'd like to hear how it's affected you.
One of the things that I learned is how to say no. I don't think that I knew the word. I just didn't understand the power of the word while I was going through it. The body, most of the times, my treatment day was Thursdays. But when I came home from treatment, I would be like wiped out. Most of the time, Friday, I would be completely wiped out. By Saturday, I usually was getting back to feeling like myself somewhat, because going through week after week, it was still difficult. Excuse me. But going through, I learned the word no. And if I didn't feel like doing it, it was okay for me to say, no, I don't want to do it. And not going through the treatment let me know I couldn't do it. I wasn't the same old Bella. A lot of times people say, you're still the same Bella to me. I'm not. Even now, going through, I'm done. I'm completely done with chemotherapy. I'm completely done with radiation, but I'm not the same Bella. So what it taught me is who Bella was, because I thought I knew. And I think one of the things I did not say, prior to being diagnosed, my job, I was an elder abuse investigator for the state of Illinois for 15 years. And I took great pride in all of that. And my job phased out this maybe I was at the doctor's office when I found out that my whole company was closing. And so going through what I was going through with treatment, and then also what I thought my identity was, all at the same time, everything was just in shambles. So I had to, and during that time, I was learning who Bella was all over again anyway. And so that gave me a great opportunity to know who Bella was, what Bella liked, what Bella wanted to do, not necessarily what people wanted Bella to do, but what I wanted to do with my time. Because now I realize life is fleeting. And I've met so many people who are going through the cancer journey, even now. Some don't make it. And it's just like that. You know, most of us are some of the lucky ones. I can't pretend like everyone's story it ends with a happy ending, because it doesn't. And what it taught me is to value every single minute, because life is fleeting. So I learned who Bella was, and it was okay to say no. No is not a bad word. It's a small word, but it's such a powerful word, and a lot of people don't understand it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And you echo a lot of my personal beliefs. And I mean, it's amazing to me. We have our cancer conquering community group,
Mhm.
and it's amazing to me the similarities, uh, uh, that a lot of us have in our perception of life, in our perception of time, in our appreciation of life, because as you mentioned, life is fleeting. We never know. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We are
Right,
not guaranteed later on today. You never know
right.
when your time is up. And so uh, to have your back against the wall of life, it changes things.
A
It,
lot.
yes. You want to talk about that? What in your personal perspective?
About what, my back being against the wall, or
Life. Yeah.
just life. It was so many challenging times. I didn't think that, um I'll start off by this. Um Prior to cancer, I like to say BC. I mean, it's a play on words, before cancer, but BC. A lot of
I like
times,
that. I'm gonna steal that.
use it. It's yours, Mark. One of the things that I learned is that I was not a real emotional person. Not that I was never in touch with my emotional side, but one of the things that I learned, life is just, it's so fragile. Um, and you have to use that time out. Use this one example to start off with, and then we can, talk about this. But just loving your family. I knew how devastating it was for my parents, first of all, to know that their youngest daughter was diagnosed with cancer. I was 38 years old. Both of my parents are cancer survivors, for two different types. My mom had stomach cancer, and my father had prostate cancer. Both, it was caught early in both cases, thank God. And so they, I saw how it especially like tore my mother up, just to know that she really couldn't do anything to help me. Um, because I was in this ring, even I was in this ring by myself, even though it was a fight. And I think about on television, I'm not a big boxer, no boxing fan, but I just think about with boxing, it's all of those people that are out to see that fight, but it's only those two people that are in the ring to fight, you know? And even though I had my mother maybe in the corner with the water bottle, I don't know what those people are called in the boxing, but they're there helping. They have the towel, they have the water bottle cheering them on and telling them, hey, next time give them a left hook, this time do a, but when it came down to it, I was in that ring by myself. Um, and I had to early on make a decision. If I wanted to live, then I had to fight. And it wasn't always easy. It was an emotional time for me. One of the most challenging times is when I lost my hair. That was the most devastating because, again, my doctor told me, he said, I don't believe that you'll really feel bad. I don't think that you're going to be one of the sick ones. I think that you're going to go through it. I don't think that you'll be nauseous. You may have be nauseous, but as far as being sick and how we see on television when you have cancer and you have chemo, they're in the bed, and they may be in the hospital or they're vomiting all the time. He said I didn't have any. He said he didn't think that I would have any of those things. But one of the most challenging times is when I lost my hair because I felt fine. And so if you looked at me, you wouldn't know that I had cancer. But the minute my hair, I remember being in the bathroom when my hair came out. And I didn't even know. I was on the telephone talking to one of my family members, and I left out of the bathroom and I came in. I mean, I came back into the bathroom, and it was a huge glob of hair on the sink. And I'm like, how did this happen? What's going on? And it was just like a slap in the face because that let me know at that time that I was in a fight that, I was winning, but at that time I felt like that I had just been knocked out, that it was the countdown and I was on the floor, not able to get up because I felt fine. But emotionally, it tore me up because it let me know you're in this cancer journey. So that was one of the most challenging parts. I'm still, and sometimes when I talk to people now, uh, even though my hair has started, it's grown back, I just cut it a whole lot. But even sometimes talking now about it, I still get emotional. And I don't know if it's a trigger. I was talking to one of my friends and I'm like, I don't know if this is a trigger. I don't know if it's something about it I can't seem to let go of because every time I get so passionate about it. And it's difficult for me, even now.
I appreciate your just honesty and your very descriptive um, way of telling us your emotions. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Um, it's an incredibly tough time, I know, for women. Because I've talked to a number of women who've lost their hair, and losing your hair, it affects your identity. It affects who you are. I lost my a lot of my hair, not completely, but it just comes out in chunks,
Hmm.
and so during that time, I was always wearing a baseball cap.
Yeah.
And it's easy for a guy just to throw it on and not worry about it. But I know it's a much bigger thing for women to lose their hair, and it's completely understandable. So how have you dealt with the process of, uh, friends and family, dealing with your cancer? How has your cancer affected the people around you?
I'll say, I'll tell two stories about that. I think the person that took it the hardest when they found out that I was diagnosed was my mom. And I said that she's a stomach cancer survivor. And it almost seemed as if when I was diagnosed that she went into like PTSD mode, because many a times I was feeling fine. This was prior to surgery, prior to chemo. This was just after the diagnosis. Um, she would call me at like 5:30 in the morning. I usually don't wake up to maybe 7. And she was calling me at like 5:30 in the morning and she would be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I am. Should I not be?" But so many times and it was to the point I had to tell my sister, like, "Hey, I need you to tell her that I'm going to be okay." Um, and I mean, it was no problem with me. Even when I wasn't okay, that was okay. But at that time, I was okay, and I needed my sister to maybe reassure her. She's my older sister, to reassure her that I was going to be fine. Because at the time, I didn't have the emotional strength to be strong for everyone else. I was trying to be strong for myself. Um, and I think once after my sister and maybe probably my father talked to her as well, she kind of calmed down a little bit. But for a while, it was extremely hard, just for my mother to even understand that I was okay. Um, and then my goddaughter, the one here in this picture, uh, I've had her since she was maybe 6. Her mom passed from heart disease at when she was maybe 4. And so to hear that I was sick too, she really surprised me more than anything. Now, if it was some hard times for her, she didn't really show those to me that much. She was probably about maybe um when I was, so that was 2018, no, 2019. She had just made 16. So she was older to understand and be there for me the way I needed to. She surprised me. I thought that she would take it a lot harder than what she did, considering what happened to her mom. But she really stepped up to the plate, and took care of me on a level that shocked me at times. I remember telling her, I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be going through treatment. I need you to go ahead and um, just, people are going to be coming over maybe to bring food or to clean up and do all of that stuff." And she just looked at me and she was like, "We don't need them." And I'm like, "Well, we might." And she was like, "No, I have it. I don't need them." And she honestly, she took on a role that I was very surprised of. She really helped me get through that journey, because when it came down to it, she was the one that was here with me day to day. So she really um allowed me to be weak, and it was okay. And mainly most of my family did. I did have a couple of friends that said some pretty ignorant things to me while I was going through, just about my hair and how terrible I looked with my hair, because it came back um like silver. I won't even say gray. It came back like steel almost. And they said some pretty hurtful things. Um, and so that was, again, I said one of the biggest things I had to deal with anyway was my image. So it did help. Um, but I tried to surround myself with as many positive people and people who could help me get along. Like my sister, she came over because I did say we are heavy and go to church. My sister came over my house every Sunday morning and did my makeup so that I didn't at least look how I felt many a times. because again, I lost all of it, lost all of my eyebrows, I lost all of my eyelashes. I was bald completely. Thank God for wigs and mascara and eyelashes and eyebrow pencils. So she made me at least feel normal, even though I felt like I wasn't, if that makes sense. So it was important to have a great support system, which I must say that I did have.
That is so fantastic, especially I mean, I was just getting chills when you were talking about your goddaughter. That
Yeah,
is beautiful. That is, to have somebody that age be willing to step up in that way. That is just beautiful and
yeah.
incredible. So that's really awesome. What I'd like to do right now is get any last thoughts from you, Bella, that you'd like to share with everybody, and we'll be closing it out here soon. Do you have any last thoughts?
My only last thoughts, and this is just for, I want to first, the first thought that I want to leave is just people who are going through the cancer journey. Give yourself grace. You know, every day is maybe a challenging day, and that's okay. No, well, let me take that back. Every day won't be a challenging day, but when you have those days that are challenging, it's okay. Give yourself grace. If you don't feel like it that day, there's always tomorrow. And it's okay. And I think I said this in one of our clubhouse rooms. It's okay not to be okay. And that is when you surround yourself with people who can help you through that process. So when I'm weak, I have somebody that is with me to be strong. And if I don't feel like doing it that day, maybe someone can come and help me. Or if not, it can always wait until tomorrow. So that is the very first thought I want to leave. And then the other thought that I want to leave is just for people who are helping people through this journey. I strongly believe that, you know, there's a reward for people who just give up so much just to make sure that we're okay. And but also take care of yourself so that you don't experience caregiver burnout, because that's a real thing. And a lot of people don't think it is. And it's okay to be burnt out, but understand when you're going through that process that you need to also take time for yourself, because you can't pour from an empty glass. So always make sure that you take the time to take care of yourself when you're taking care of somebody else. So
That
those are
that is awesome. I love that. And I knew when I asked you to do this interview that I would be uh, surprised and amazed, and you've delivered on all of that, and I appreciate so much your
the
insight and your genuine, uh, the place that you're coming from is so genuine. I just think that's so beautiful. So thank
thank
you
you.
so much, Bella. I mean, you have shared so much with us. And, for those of you who are not familiar with it, what we're talking about on the Clubhouse app, we have a room called Cancer Conquering Community. And that's every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we come together, and there's cancer patients, cancer survivors, doctors, nurses, caretakers, people who are interested in finding out about cancer. And so please join us. If you have any questions, you can message me, and I'll help you to get set up, and you can join our community. But anyway, thank you so much, Bella.
Thank
It,
you.
it was it was awesome. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
so, what I'd like to do at this time is to thank everyone once again for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero, and appreciate your health. Your health is everything. I mean, without your health, and we as cancer patients, know that without your health, you just you you are missing so much. But so appreciate that and appreciate your life. Uh, every day is just a gift, and it's so beautiful. Appreciate every day, every hour, every minute, every second, and as our friend Linda Sherman says, every breath. So thank you so much for joining us once again at the Be Your Own Hero. Please subscribe, like, make a comment in the comment section. And thank you once again, Bella, and we will see you next time.